What wedding moment made you think they are not going to last long?
As a wedding photographer, I have been to more than my share of weddings. It was a real shotgun wedding. Dad didn't realize it would not stand up in court. The only time the groom was more excited to have photos than the bride. She wanted a limo, he thought a hearse would be better, and kept doing lurch impressions. From the Addams family. Her friends took turns motorboating her, females, and he said, "Get it out of your system, as after tonight you never get to do that again." Was a good sign also when she dove into the pool with her bridesmaids at the reception, in her wedding dress. Don't know what happened. Sat down with bride and groom, filling out the contract. Got the deposit. He stood up, said forget it, and walked out. 2 months later I get told the wedding is off. 3 months later she calls to rebook, a different groom. Day of the wedding I am at the church. Got the final payment the week before. No one shows. No one, just me and the DJ. Source, my wedding. We'll start 3 days before. The wedding was a Renfair-style wedding outside at a large gazebo, and the maid of honor had promised to purchase a stylized dress for my bride that they had agreed on. 3 days before the wedding she calls to tell us she had no money, and was embarrassed to admit it. So we literally hand-sewed on together in 24 hours. IMO, it turned out pretty nice for what we had. The bride's mother was supposed to pick up the cake in ATX and drive an hour south for the wedding. She left her house 30 minutes before the wedding to pick it up. When she finally showed up, an hour late, the cake was destroyed. She put it in the back seat and drove like hell all the way down, just slamming it against the box with every turn. During the 1-hour delay, there was almost a fistfight between two groomsmen because, well, the Mo showed up in the dress that she was unable to afford. Obvious attempt to upstage the bride. The same Mo during her speech after the ceremony started it off by saying, "When we all met, I did not like Drakram 411 at all, however, I found that he grows on you, like a fungus." Needless to say, my entire side of the family was super cold to all of this. Since all of these issues were on her side of friendships or families, I was told to suck it up and we'll discuss later. I sort of assumed that a lot of these friends had just shown themselves the door. Quite the opposite. In fact, 2 years later when I accepted my first well-paying job out of college, it became an issue that it was an hour and a half out of Austin, so she decided to just stay in ATX to be with her friends. I mailed her the divorce papers, and since she couldn't be bothered to even show up to the hearing, I've never seen her again.
She told me 2 days before that she found her fiancé annoying, that she didn't like him, and that he was awful in bed. She was visibly, endlessly uncomfortable at the rehearsal wedding/dinner combo. Then she sobbed the entire morning, day of. She ended up not getting any makeup done cause she wouldn't stop sobbing, and refused to get dressed, stalling the wedding 35 minutes. She then said 45 minutes of vows that she had prepared, 9 pages of things like inappropriate vows to friends and family, his parents and sisters, none of them her husband, and then almost didn't say I do. Managed to get yeah, okay, yeah I do out of her almost a full 60 seconds after she was supposed to say anything. I could go on for hours, but it was the most painful and awkward wedding I've ever been to. I've got my money on 10 months. We're 1 month in. Edit 2.5 month update. I've distanced myself from them completely. She is really clingy and likes to gossip about how awful her husband is, and I really don't have the time. She's also told me they're in couples therapy after I expressed negativity towards some extremely concerning things she said regarding their relationship plus lack of communication. But I'm still betting on 10 months because she believes it's all his fault and truly believes his parents and sisters are exactly the same. News flash, they're all lovely people. Edit number 2 5-month update. I no longer associate with them, so I'm out of the loop regarding juicy details. Last I heard they keep moving all over the country and fight non-stop. No more lovey-dovey images on social media. Seems to be right on track for a 10-month breakup.
I've got 2. One of my good friends got married and I'd never met her before the wedding because she's just shy. On the wedding day, She was belligerently drunk before the ceremony even started and couldn't even get through the lines she was supposed to repeat, i.e., I promise to love you. She ended up slapping the groom, spilling champagne on her dress, and then crying under a table while he tried to comfort her. They lasted about 4 months. Another one was my wife's friend. She's a very conservative, religious white girl who married a black man. Most of her racist family didn't approve of the marriage and didn't show up. But she planned the whole marriage around race. Like a vanilla cake for her and a chocolate cake for him, the wedding colors were black and white, and even the meals were white meat for her side and dark meat for his. It was extremely uncomfortable as a guest. They lasted 2 years, but broke up because he was abusive and almost killed her, rather than the weird racial tension.
Not at the wedding itself, but I used to work at a David's bridal. Bride came in with tons of friends, we did the say yes to the dress thing, and an hour later she'd standing there in $3,000 worth of stuff and doesn't have any money with her or in her account. She decides she wants to apply for the store credit card, I run it through the system, and she gets denied. She then calls the groom for his info, which, to be fair, people did all the time, and he tells her no. She threw a huge fit on the phone with him, standing on the bridal stage, literally demanding why not. Why? Why, like an actual child over and over again. I've never seen a 30-year-old age backwards so quickly. She was just a brat. Literally stomped her feet in front of me, all her friends, and the other bride in the store. I was embarrassed. At the end of all of that, she hangs up on him, and her friend is like, I'm so sorry you can't get your dress. The bride stops crying instantly, and just goes, oh, I'll get the dress. I just have to do this at home, and when he gets mad enough he'll come to get it for me, so I'll stop. Speechless. Sure enough. The girl came back 2 days later with her man, and he applied for the credit card and bought the dress. He was livid and silent, and she was smug as hell. Can't imagine they're having a happy marriage if they are still together.
I'm witnessing one from the sidelines now. My wife's brother just got married this past May. The bride's mother is a big DIY person and went little nuts with extra flowers, table pieces, decorations, etc. Note ahead extra, it was already decorated by the venue, she just took it upon herself to buy and add way more stuff. Anyway, a few weeks ago she sends my groom's mom, an email with receipts of all the extra stuff she bought, $7,000 worth. And asked that she pay half since it was technically set up in time for the rehearsal dinner for guests to enjoy. It's causing a huge rift between the newlyweds since the bride is taking her mom's side.
My wife got invited to a client's daughter's wedding. The couple were both drama students. Many of the bridal parties were drama students. The maid of honor's toast consisted of tearful declarations of unrequited love to the groom, along the lines of, if it couldn't be me, I'm glad it's my best friend that's marrying you. The best man's speech was a lusty declaration of, if it doesn't work out, call me, babe. Like the previous time you called me. Other toasts were similarly weird. A guy at the table I was seated at was a friend of the bride and said to me that he was this close to standing up during the speak now or forever hold your peace thing. I'm still not sure if the whole thing was a bunch of emotionally fucked up 20-year-olds or one big piece of performance art.
I was maid of honor. Best man and the couple went into a separate little room to do the signing stuff. Bride excused herself to go the bathroom and the groom started making pretty mean remarks about her cooking, she's passionate about, to the officiary. She came back, heard they were talking about cooking family meals together and gave him the warmest smile, thinking he had praised her. He scoffed awkwardly and changed the topic. That always stuck with me. He wasn't laughing with her but at her, behind her back. They lasted 7 months.
I'm reminded of someone I read about maybe 20 years ago, a college professor who developed a protocol for predicting whether prospective marriages were likely to last. IIRC, he had the engaged couple discuss some tender issues, topics they would fight about. They would videotape the session, then research assistants would watch the tape, counting the various interactions of notes. That data produced their prediction. His research showed that fighting was not a problem as such. Lots of happy long-laying marriages had lots of fighting. The crucial aspect was whether the couple was mutually respectful during their fight. Observed disrespect was a very strong predictor of a short-lived marriage. I have kept that in mind when dating. If I feel like she seems to be contemptuous of me at any point, that's a massive red flag. I ended a relationship when I realized I was treating her disrespectfully. Be nicer, I would tell myself. After a while I realized that I simply did not respect her, and that was a big problem. In the 1995 BBC Pride and Prejudice, the dad says something like, "I couldn't abide you having a marriage, Lizzie, where you cannot respect your spouse, like my marriage." There are two ex-Mrs. Labrowskis. They both broke my heart. I'm permanently sad that I couldn't make either marriage last. I take some joy, though, from the fact that I deeply respected both of them when we got married, and still do now, 37 and 15 years later.
While they were planning the wedding, the bride came to me and asked, "Is it normal to realize that getting married is a huge mistake but still go through with it? Do you think we can still be happy?" I tried to talk gently to her about everything, and she admitted that her and her groom had already had sex and that if she didn't marry him, nobody else would want used goods and she would go to hell. They got married. Worst part is, they'll probably stay married forever because they are very religious and God doesn't allow for divorce. It was really hard to watch the bride cry as she walked down the aisle. Not happy tears either. Edited to add. Just want to make it clear that I do not agree with what she felt. I tried to gently explain that her not being a virgin does not make her used goods. Her response was, "Well, you're a bisexual Christian, so God isn't happy with you either. But at least you married a man so you can hide it." This poor girl was raised to believe the worst that Christianity can offer. She was 17 when she was getting married to her 18-year-old groom. It was just a devastating wedding.